Hello, passionate Celtic FC fans. This is Celtic Central News, your exclusive source for Celtic updates. Before we kick off, we appreciate the incredible support. If you love Celtic, subscribe now, hit like, and let's build this community together. Now, onto the latest news. A warm welcome to new subscribers. Your support is crucial. Hail, hail. The buzz across Glasgow this week has been nothing short of explosive, and once again it circles around the ever-intense rivalry between Rangers and Celtic, a story older than most of the players who now put on those famous shirts. Reports have surfaced that Rangers manager Russell Martin has let slip words that go far beyond the usual mind games or pre-match banter. The rumor claims he aimed a rather heavy provocation directly at the Celtic supporters, choosing a tone that many are calling outright disrespectful. Now, for anyone who knows the old firm rivalry, you'll understand immediately why this matters so much. Every word spoken, every gesture made, gets magnified, dissected, and turned into fuel for the fire that never really dies down in this city. Martin, a man who grew up south of the border in England but proudly wore the Scotland shirt during his playing days, knows perfectly well what he's walking into when he steps onto this battlefield. The allegation that he deliberately insulted the green and white side of the divide has sparked anger online, with social media timelines flooded by furious Celtic fans who see this not just as a jab, but as a declaration of war. And what makes this situation even more intriguing is how out of character it seems for Russell Martin, at least compared with the image he has carefully built since stepping into management. Known more for his tactical innovations and his calm demeanor, he has often been praised for bringing a sense of composure to the dressing room. But football in Glasgow doesn't forgive or forget, and if he really did fire such sharp words toward the Parkhead faithful, then this could represent a deliberate shift in strategy. Maybe he's trying to win favor with his own fans by showing them he can play the psychological game. Maybe he's trying to rattle Celtic ahead of the next big clash. Or maybe, just maybe, he let emotion get the better of him in the heat of the moment. Whatever the case, the timing is suspicious, coming right as the two sides prepare for another heated showdown that could tip the balance of the league title race. Let's not forget that Rangers supporters, while no strangers to passion themselves, thrive on any display of loyalty to the badge. If their gaffer goes out and throws down a challenge to the eternal enemy, then many in the stands at Ibrox will see that as nothing but courage. But the risk is obvious. The Celtic support, already primed for confrontation at every turn, will latch onto these remarks and transform them into banners, chants, and a renewed sense of defiance. That's the beauty and the curse of Scottish football's most famous rivalry. It doesn't take much to ignite flames that burn for months, sometimes even years. Remember, managers before Martin have tried this tactic and sometimes paid a heavy price for it. A single comment can become the story that overshadows entire seasons, especially when silverware is at stake and bragging rights mean as much as trophies. If this report is accurate, Martin has now placed himself firmly in the middle of the storm, and the coming weeks will reveal whether he can harness the energy or whether it will consume him entirely. Celtic Park has never been a gentle environment for opposing managers, but these alleged remarks could turn it into a true cauldron. Imagine the next time Martin walks out onto that touchline, surrounded by a sea of green and white, with tens of thousands of voices waiting to rain fury down upon him. The psychological warfare here is immense. Managers often talk about blocking out the noise, about focusing only on their players and the 90 minutes ahead, but in this city, the noise is unavoidable. It seeps into training grounds, into press conferences, into the daily lives of everyone involved. Even the players' families feel it, the neighbors feel it, the entire community feels it. So if Martin really did cross that line and disrespect the Celtic faithful, then he's guaranteed himself a hostile welcome unlike anything he's ever experienced before. And if his team falters under that pressure, the backlash could easily fall back on his shoulders, no matter how much he tries to spin it as motivation or as a tactical masterstroke. One of the fascinating aspects of this developing story is how quickly narratives can shift. Just a few weeks ago, Russell Martin was being hailed as a modern thinker, a man capable of building a new identity for Rangers, someone who could stand toe-to-toe with Celtic's own impressive structure and bring pride back to the blue half of the city. But narratives in Glasgow are fragile. They rise and fall on the strength of one result, one statement, even one misinterpreted glance during a press conference. And now, with these rumors swirling, Martin has become not just a football manager, but a headline figure in Scotland's most combustible soap opera. Supporters from both camps will spend the coming days arguing in pubs, offices, and living rooms about what was said, what was meant, and whether or not it was justified. That's the magic and madness of football here. It doesn't stay on the pitch. It leaks into every corner of daily life. And suddenly, everyone feels part of the narrative whether they like it or not. At the core of all this lies a fundamental truth. Football rivalries are not just about sport. They are cultural, political, emotional, even spiritual battlegrounds. The Old Firm rivalry is perhaps the clearest example of that, with its history stretching far beyond the 90 minutes of football. Russell Martin, despite being born in England, knows this well because he chose to represent Scotland as a player. He's no stranger to the weight of identity that hangs over these matches. That's why the idea of him deliberately insulting Celtic fans carries so much power. It's not just words. It's a challenge to an entire way of life for many people in Glasgow and beyond. And whether he meant it as a sly tactic, a reckless slip, or an act of bravado, the effect is the same. He has ignited a firestorm that will only grow hotter as the next clash approaches. Everyone will now watch every move he makes, every word he utters, waiting to see if he doubles down or tries to backtrack. And that scrutiny could become just as dangerous as any opponent Rangers face on the pitch. If the first reaction to this alleged insult was outrage, the second wave has been nothing short of fascination. Pundits across Scotland are debating whether this is the spark that will lift Rangers or the one that will burn them. On one side, there are those who argue that Martin is finally showing the type of edge required to thrive in this unforgiving environment. They say that if he wants to be taken seriously as the man to lead Rangers into a new era, he has to embrace the ferocity of the rivalry and show he's not afraid to take on Celtic at every level. On the other side, critics point out that words can sometimes do more damage than defeats. You can lose a match and bounce back the following week. But once you insult an entire fan base, especially one as massive and passionate as Celtic's, the repercussions can linger far longer. It creates an atmosphere where even neutral games carry a shadow, because everyone knows the tension will be waiting to explode when the Old Firm rolls around again. What's especially intriguing is how the players themselves might react to all this noise. Imagine being a Ranger walking into training after reading headlines about your manager insulting the enemy. Some might feel inspired, ready to go to war for their gaffer, ready to wear that blue shirt with even more pride. Others, though, might feel the added pressure, the sense that now every mistake, every missed pass, will be magnified because the opposition is more determined than ever to punish them. Footballers are human, and while they are trained to shut out distractions, in Glasgow that's nearly impossible. Celtic players will be reading the same stories, and you can be sure their manager will use it to fuel the fire in their dressing room. Look at what they think of you, he'll say, and suddenly every tackle becomes harder, every sprint more desperate, every goal celebration more defiant. That's how quickly words spoken off the pitch can transform the reality on it, especially in a rivalry that already thrives on emotion. It's also worth remembering that Russell Martin is still relatively new to the intensity of managing Rangers. Yes, he has played in big games. Yes, he has represented Scotland, but the Old Firm managerial seat is unlike anything else in British football. Even seasoned veterans have struggled to cope with the constant scrutiny, the never-ending questions, the fact that you can win 5 matches in a row and still face criticism if the 6th one is a draw against Celtic. By stepping into this firestorm with his supposed comments, Martin has arguably accelerated his induction into the madness. Now he will be judged not just by his tactics and results, but by his ability to handle the media circus and the pressure cooker that follows him everywhere. If he proves he can thrive under these conditions, then perhaps Rangers have found the right man. But if he crumbles, if the atmosphere becomes too much, then those same supporters cheering him for his boldness today may soon turn on him tomorrow. For Celtic supporters, the insult has already taken on symbolic weight. They see it as proof of disrespect, of arrogance, of a man who has yet to earn the right to speak in such terms about their club and their people. It adds to the narrative of us against them, that fuels so much of their passion. Fans are already talking about how this could galvanize the squad, how the atmosphere at Celtic Park will now reach levels even higher than usual when Rangers next arrive. It's the kind of story that can unify a fan base, making every supporter feel as though they are part of the fight, not just watching it from the stands. And if the Celtic players respond in kind, using this as motivation to outperform their rivals, then Martin may find that his words have handed the advantage to the very people he wanted to unsettle. That's the gamble of provocation. It can either weaken your opponent or make them stronger, and the outcome is never guaranteed. The media, of course, are loving every second of this drama. Columnists are writing lengthy pieces analyzing every syllable of the supposed insult. Radio hosts are filling their phone-in shows with calls from furious fans, and television debates are running hot with arguments about whether Martin crossed a line. This is the type of story that sustains itself, feeding off the endless cycle of outrage and rebuttal. Every day that passes without clarification from the Rangers' boss is another day the rumor grows, another opportunity for interpretation to stretch further and further from the original source. Silence, in this case, might be more dangerous than speaking. But if Martin decides to clarify, he risks either confirming the insult and inflaming the fire or denying it and appearing weak. It's a delicate balancing act, and the wrong move could cost him dearly in the court of public opinion. In Glasgow, perception is almost as important as reality, and right now the perception is that Martin has thrown a stone into a pond that will ripple for months. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. As we look ahead, one thing is absolutely certain. The next Old Firm clash has already gained an extra layer of spice. Tickets were already golden, demand was already sky-high, but now the anticipation is electric. Every camera will be fixed on Martin as he emerges from the tunnel. Every microphone will be waiting to catch his pre-match words, and every supporter will be on edge to see how his team responds under the brightest of spotlights. This is the kind of storyline that reminds us why Scottish football, and particularly the Rangers-Celtic rivalry, is so unique. It's not just a game, it's a drama, a theater, a saga that unfolds in real time. Russell Martin may not have intended to step so deep into the narrative so soon in his Rangers tenure, but here he is, front and center, with the weight of expectation on his shoulders. Whether this becomes a masterstroke of psychological warfare or a disastrous miscalculation, it will define how he is remembered in Glasgow for years to come. The whispers around Glasgow are only growing louder, and some insiders are suggesting that this could even become a turning point in how Russell Martin is perceived not just by Rangers supporters, but by Scottish football as a whole. They say a manager is often defined by moments that live long in the memory, and while most expect those to be iconic victories or trophy lifts, sometimes it's words that leave the biggest scar. Think back to past Old Firm managers who became infamous for their fiery jabs at the opposition. Those moments still get replayed decades later. Martin's alleged provocation, whether intended or not, might be carving out his own chapter in that tradition. Yet the danger lies in how long he's willing to carry this storyline. If he embraces the villain role, doubling down and daring Celtic fans to take it personally, he risks painting himself into a corner where only victory keeps him afloat. If he retreats, backtracks, or tries to soften the blow, he risks being painted as a man who talks big but lacks the conviction to follow through. Either way, the spotlight will remain locked on him, and there is no easy escape route once you've crossed that line. Beyond the footballing implications, there's also the cultural weight of this alleged insult, something no outsider can fully understand unless they've lived through the fabric of Scottish football. Rangers and Celtic don't just divide fans inside a stadium. They divide families, streets, entire communities. When a figure as central as the Rangers manager decides, even for a moment, to provoke that other half of the city, he's not merely stirring up a bit of fun before a derby. He's tapping into generations of history, identity, and conflict. That's why this story feels different, why it carries so much electricity. Neutral observers across Britain may scratch their heads and wonder why one comment has caused such a storm, but anyone in Scotland knows that the Old Firm rivalry is measured in emotion, not logic. For Celtic fans, it's a matter of respect, of honor, of pride. For Rangers fans, it's a question of loyalty, defiance, and solidarity with their manager. The next chapter will be written not in press conferences, but on the pitch, where every tackle, every goal, and every roar from the stands will carry the weight of this feud. Martin, knowingly or not, has set the stage. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.